Good morning. Hello, everyone. This is Laura from Life Coaching with Laura, and I am once again meeting up with career coach Marilyn Ehrhardt. We're going to talk about women having confidence in the workplace, and I'm going to bring her on. Here it is. Here she is with us. Hello, Marilyn.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm very good. It's good to see you again.
Yes, indeed.
We had the pleasure of seeing each other just this last Saturday. You led an amazing retreat for women, of which I was part of. By the way, I have my latest vision board that I created.
Oh, that is so good.
I believe in keeping them up where we can see them. But thank you for being here today. Thank you for talking to the women in our audience, coming from the perspective of a career coach. Thank you that you share freely out of this deep well of knowledge that you have. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Laura. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Well, you said that today what you would like us to have a conversation about is women having confidence in the workplace. And I think that's something that every person, can get behind. And for the listener, for those of you that are new to Marilyn and myself, just want to let you know that, we are about sharing the gospel, about how people can best be served, and how we, along with you, can best make an impact in our community. So one of the ways that I love to do that is I love to highlight women and sometimes men that are impacting the community with their gifts and their talents. And so that's why I love to meet with you, Marilyn. So in your opinion, Marilyn, since we're going to have this conversation, how are men and women different in this area of confidence, and how does that affect jobs, careers, and business?
Sure. I'm going to take a little road or a little journey into answering that question because it's important that we define confidence within this context for us to understand what women struggle with in your vocation, in business, in your job, and to go from here to there, right? So, how to stop juggling and struggling and finally start working the way you really like to work. And if there's no confidence in the midst of all that, it's very hard to do. And, I have a few questions for women, like when your boss asks you to do something that you hate or it has risk, do you go back to your maternal instincts and imagine the agony of a disappointed child in that boss when you say no?
Mm.
Do you feel that you have no choices?
Yeah.
Do you stress hormones kicked in? Do you feel powerless? Do you feel trapped? In my business experience, we're always longing to kick down the corporate ladder, right? The 60-hour weeks, the holidays, the holidays that never get taken. We're juggling, spinning, and rushing around, and we cannot say no. Confidence is hard to define, but it's easy to recognize.
Mm.
And it does not come from college degrees and titles. It comes from two areas: inside, your purpose and gift, and outside, the way we approach the world, our ability to master something that you can accomplish, a task, a goal, a vision. And a lot of times people confuse success with competency, but confidence is more important than competency in the business world. And the feeder of confidence is self-esteem. So, am I valuable? Do I have a special gift? Is my personality a gift? Do I have a purpose? Am I worthy? Those are the things that feed our confidence. And I tell you why. And we go back to, we always go back to our creator, God. God put us together. God put me together in my mother's womb. God gave me a special gift to fulfill his purpose for me. A creator always has a purpose for everything that he creates.
It's so true.
And we are made with God's signature, our DNA XX, right? Not our parents' signature, no society's signature, not your husband's signature, not your kid's signature. It's our creator signature. And it's very important to understand what does that mean, right? And why this confidence issue come through our adulthood and our careers. Our parents, since very young, tell us what it means to be a girl. Sweet, smile, cute, but go to college and be successful. Society looks down to us. You're a woman. You're not smart enough. You're not smarter than men. You're too emotional. You're too complicated. You know, your voice is not heard. So that's what gets thrown at us from a society perspective. But if you look at men, they look in the mirror and they see, I would be a sport star. I would be a CEO. I would be a leader. I'm smart. And they do not have any problem being confident. Even when they think they're wrong, they're okay with it. Even when they make mistakes, they stand up again. And we don't. We get stuck. When I was a corporate executive on the top floor of the building, you know, the plush furniture, the hutch tones, all top executive around you, and occasionally the visitor that come in to pass judgment. I had to be confident. I had to be confident to stand up and speak up and negotiate, etc., etc. But I felt out of place. I had to be confident, but I felt out of place.
Yeah.
And even though they will say to you all this stuff, you know, in the business world, oh, women, you know, they're too emotional, they're complicated, blah, blah, blah. We are accused as women for being women. We are women, okay? So, you know, and the other thing that you see at work a lot too that is very sad is the mommy track at work has been lonely and demoralizing road where there's usually no return. And many women quit prestigious and powerful jobs to stay at home with their children. That's a fact. But if we are confident and know our purpose,
Yeah.
we do not want to get to the top of the ladder. Hello, we don't need to make it to the top of the ladder. Everybody thinks and push that road. We don't need to. And I will tell you a personal story about that. And this can be scary because when we don't want to go to the top of the ladder, we're confronting our ego, right?
Okay.
Why not? So we continue to be pushed by society, by culture, and by many things, by our own egos and pride into this direction. But women had to stop and we had to do a gut check. And that's what I had to do. I did. I had my 300K salary and my stock options and my bonus and my BMW for company car and a red carpet around the world. But guess what? When I got checked, I felt that's not my purpose. I'm not happy. That was not my purpose in life. And at that point, I had to come down from Mount Everest, come down to the first level again, and start my own business from ground zero. But I had to trust my value, my experience, my worthiness. My XX DNA had to be there because I'm a woman. And when you put it all in a box that fit your purpose in life, I did not want to be tied to my fancy office anymore. But also, I did not want to be tied to a kitchen. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the struggle that we women have.
Yeah.
But in my own business, I had flexible hours, ability to work with many companies in many different ways. I had 4 lines of income. I saw myself as a consultant to all of them. But I had to have the confidence to redefine my own notion of success.
I like that. Redefine.
My own,
And we come to that
yeah.
in all kinds of places in our life where all of us have to redefine different aspects of our life. And you're saying this is just one more of those. I love that you have this experience to be able to pass on to others, because you've been there, done that, like they say about the t-shirt.
Yes.
And we're not saying, to the listener, we're not saying it's wrong to go high into business. What we're saying that many do, and then they find out that it's been an illusion, right? We think that that's going to be where
Yes.
our happiness is, but there's a cost for everything.
There.
That's one of the things I know is that you had to define what the cost was, and for you, the cost was too high.
The cost was too high. Absolutely. We always have to think about that and say, what is the cost? And why am I doing this? And then match that out with your purpose and the confidence of who you are because you were created. You were created for a purpose. And God put this gift on you. And we cannot put them in the closet just to get the approval of society and other people in this world. So this is the, you got to understand, and then people need to understand, but we women need to understand and be confident and feel good about the fact that women do business different than men because we are different.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And that's part of our design and purpose. It's hardwired into our genes. We don't do business like men.
Right.
We don't have to be like men to get ahead. We do not. Our voices don't have to be higher than anybody else. Our emotions don't have to be buried deeper. Our shoulders don't need to be broad. The gender swapping style does not work for women. It does not. So our management style as a woman, guess what? Has a lot of good things. A lot
It's so
of good
interesting,
things.
as I hear you talking, I'm thinking about, role models that have impressed me, both male and female, and those that were, in my opinion, poor leaders. And, thinking about women, especially, the women that I saw that made the most excellent leaders were not trying to live out a faux leadership style. They were actually gentle, quiet, but boy, they led really, really strongly, really, really well. And I appreciate what you're saying because I don't think I've ever thought about that before, that if we're not careful, we will try to model male leaders, and that works for male leaders. But we are female. We are wonderful female.
Exactly. And our management style is different, but it's amazing because we're more open. We're more inclusive.
Yes.
We're more likely to encourage participation in meetings. We're more nurturing. We prefer more consensus than confrontation. We have empathy. We are flexible to problem solving, and we are influencers.
Yes.
And people ask me, Marilyn, what did you succeed? The answer is because I'm a woman. It's that simple. And people are going like, what? Yeah. And I tell you what, I'm going to tell you a little story. As a woman-owned business, the government has a program. It's called the 8A program that allow minority women-owned business to have a better opportunity to win government contracts. So I said, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to apply for that to grow my business, right? And so after filling out, 200 pages of blah, 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 and turning my application, and the guy said, Marilyn, you forgot to write. You need to write about 2 pages as to why you have been abused and discriminated in the business world. And I looked at him and said, I haven't. And he goes, well, if you don't have that, we cannot accept your application. I said, wow. You know what? You're the first one that discriminated against me.
Yes. Oh, that's good. That's ironic.
And it's true because I did. I mean, you know my story, right? I went from being an immigrant to being in NASA and then a corporate executive and then my own business. And yes, there were challenges and yes, there's all kind of stuff. But I have to write 2 pages of how I've been abused. Come on. So maybe some people have the 2 pages, but I said, I don't want you to give me this because I was abused. I want you to give me this opportunity so I can grow my business, not because I was abused. And
Yes.
it was like very eye-opening for me in how confidence is so important in our life. It is very, very important.
I want to respond to something you said earlier that I wrote it down. It's probably not the first time I ever had this thought, but it's the first time I ever had the thought the way I got it from what you said. And you said that from the time we were young, we've been told what a girl is. And I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it quite like that before. And it reflected back to me a surprising thought that came to me. And so I would ask the listener, whether now or later, like really reflect on that question. It is true that from the time you were little, you were told what a little girl or little boy should be. And it's not that that's wrong, but what happens is I recognize in that question or in that statement you made is that we also wear let's go back to the FAUX, the faux mask. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, what I believed was my role was to be obedient. Now, being obedient is great.
Yes.
The problem is, though, that this cascade of thoughts that came, and I'm hoping that it's going to happen to the listener, is that I said, it is true that is a persona I took on, because I think at the core of myself, I am obedient. But what came was, but the truest reality of who I thought I authentically was as a child and even beyond was a woman who had courage. When I pushed against the boundaries of what I thought was injustice. And it's just so interesting that I've had this mind blow from what you were saying is we got to go back and think about what were we told, especially as women, because you're right that if the belief system I developed was, well, I'm supposed to be obedient, then you won't open your mouth during important meetings. And thank God I was able to do that, even though I still have this persona of wanting to be obedient and easy to get along with, because that's a part of my nature. But we know that in the book of boundaries, that can also be, a boundary problem.
Yes.
Because you won't speak up when you should. You will say yes to the bad, not necessarily by speaking out, but by being silent. Because when we are silent, it's also an assent. Amen? And so I was just thinking about how, yes, there's this part of me that was showing up very early in my life, all the way through my adulthood, that was greater than what people were telling me I should be and celebrating me for when I was that thing.
Yeah.
That actually has hindered me and crippled me more than living out my authentic reality. That the person God actually made me to be was courageous. And that was to stand up against bullies and injustice.
Yes. Indeed.
That was cool.
Indeed. That's so cool. And that's what I said is inside of us. We think it comes from the outside, but it doesn't. It's inside of us when we understand we are God's creature. And yes, we are different, but there's a lot of things that society applies to women only, and it's not true.
Yeah.
You know, you can be cute and beautiful and, you know, have compassion and empathy and also be courageous and not allow injustice and abuse to come your way.
Amen.
And don't say, I have to act as someone that I'm not to be successful. No.
And it
If I
also
have skill,
dawns on me, I'm
no.
sorry, but I was thinking it also dawns on me that this is why each of us can understand when we get to that core of who we were as children, and that's why it's going to show up in the workplace. When we show up
Yes.
in our, our true authentic place will show up
Yes.
for sure, right?
Yes.
Our faux mask may show up too, but I realize that this helps me to understand is why when I was basically asked to have no opinion about what was right or wrong, I was like, that's impossible. Number one, I don't think it's right for anybody to be silent
Exactly.
about injustice. However, right, I realized just through this conversation about us having confidence in the workplace is that the reason I was able to be confident and say I won't participate in that was because it's authentically who I am. It's my markings, like you say, by the Lord,
Yes.
by my Creator Himself.
Yes. Indeed. And you see it so often, you know, like you're holding your little baby, right? You just had a baby and your boss is calling you, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, you say, okay, wait a minute, you know, give me 10 minutes. I get back to you instead of saying, no, I can't talk to you until, you know, tomorrow morning. That's hard for us to do.
Yeah.
But people don't understand that we have two important roles and they have to mix together. They have to come together, which is we're family and work and our purpose
Yes.
have to be in balance for us to be happy and fulfilled.
Amen.
And that's how we need to be strong in pushing that model up. Boundaries is very important. Saying no with confidence is very important. Very important. And said, okay, I lose the job because this job is keeping me away from the things that I love the most. Even if you have a husband that say, don't worry, I will take care of the kid. Go to work the extra 2 or 3 hours. We as women feel bad because we want to be with our baby too. You know what I mean? So that is the balance that we need to have to fulfill our purpose. And only with confidence and good, honest self-esteem of who we are in Christ, we can get there.
You know, it makes me think of a story. I don't know this woman personally, but her story was shared to me through a person that knows us both. And this young woman, who's a new mom, let's say a year and under of a child, was working 40 hours a week. You know, imagine how hard that is. You, like you said, you want to be with your baby, but at the same time, you got to provide for your baby. And so she ended up leaving her 40-hour position and working for herself as I don't know, working with children. It's all over Zoom. She makes as much in 10 hours working from home over Zoom as she did her 40 hours. Now, she could work for 40 hours still and make 4 times as much as she made. That's the beauty of what you're saying. It's a career code,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We're not saying it's wrong to be working, in corporate America. What we're saying is that most women, many women are there and they're torn between their love for their children at home,
Yes.
not really feeling heard on the on the job, and feeling like this is what they have to take, when in reality, God has given us, like you say, gifts and talents that bless that workplace. And we need to have confidence to ask for what we rightfully deserve for that position, right?
Yes. Yes.
And give respect and receive respect, because that's a part of what builds our confidence too. If
Yes.
we work for people who denigrate us, don't celebrate us, properly, what happens is it just kicks the self-esteem down,
Yes.
and we
Totally.
carry that home.
Yes. Yes. That's the problem. And absolutely. And I remember when I went to the HR manager and I said, I'm quitting. She goes, are you kidding me? You're giving all this up? I said, that's a good question for you. That's a very good question for you. Think about it, and maybe you can change your strategic plans about human resources and women. Because it's not possible that you have a family and a husband and you sleep more on an airplane than you do in your own house. So these are the kind of things that we need to be confident about. Okay, you lose all these things, but like your friend or the person that you were coaching, you have to find what is really your purpose and the model and the box that you can put it all together and be fulfilled. And it's not, if it is corporate America and you can do it, fine. If it's your own business, fine. But what you cannot be is in a jail, in a job that you hate, that doesn't let you be who you are, that doesn't allow you purpose to shine. That's what you cannot do. Life is too short and too valuable for us to do something like that.
And when you say you can't, the reality is many women, what you mean, you know, is like you can, but you will pay a terrible price. And,
Yes.
so, women, we want you to hear us. You can, Marilyn's saying you can, but you're going to pay a consequence that, is going to have end results that you don't want. But if you can do corporate America, if you can do your job, you can be respected, feel loved, and you feel fulfilled. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
realize every time I have a conversation with you like this, Marilyn, I'm reminded of why you're passionate as a coach to women who you want to see create their own businesses, because
Yes.
I'm reminded that you've scaled, right, the highest
Yes.
offices and found that it was too uneven.
Yes.
And what you want to help women do, I get that, like, more than ever, is you want to help women create their own businesses so that they can have the flexibility that is missing out of typical corporate jobs.
Yes, indeed. That's my passion. It is my passion, not because I read a bunch of books about it, but I climbed that Mount Everest, and it was tough, and I had to go right back down and start again. And when I started my own business, I didn't change. I mean, I put everything, my knowledge, experience, in a box and configure that box in a way that was flexible and good for me. And I was able to take the vacations that I wanted to take. I was able to enjoy my family. I was able to pick my customers and the ones that were more valuable and have multiple lines of business coming in that made me very excited when I woke up in the morning.
Yes.
So, and I'm not saying that's the role for everybody, but I've seen very few women that are very happy on top of that Mount Everest of corporations, because it takes away your other side. Remember, 2X, one X family, the other X, your purpose. They have to work together.
I was thinking about what you offer women, what this conversation offers women, I think, as much as knowledge, is the ability for them to dream. Just like I mentioned, this one woman I don't know, she literally did this. She's just working an average 40-hour job, grinding it out, trying to take her baby, probably loved the purpose of what her job was. But what you're saying is, but it kept her from what she desired the most, which was to spend more time with this little one. And I know that when I left the corporate world, you would say, I loved it very much. But I found that just exactly what you're saying is that when I decided to do the work from home, right, to still minister to people, would be in a little bit of a different way. But yeah, I found, I could set my own hours. I could make as much
Yes.
back, even though there's one more. I was making as much in 8 hours a week as I was a 40-hour work. And that was fine. The money I was making before I left was fine. I didn't have a problem with it. But it's just interesting when you do the math, you say, well, here I can set my, own hours. I'm not, skipping lunch. I'm
Yes.
able to actually spend time with family. I personally work about 2 days a week, and I enjoy my life. The
Yes.
other, 3 days a week when we think of a work week, right? And I have my weekends for my husband. So I really hear this message is that it is possible to do what you're doing and do it in a new way. That's what your
Yes.
job is, to help somebody understand how do they transition from doing a 40-hour job, to running their own business. And the truth is you're necessary, because that feels like trying to jump the Grand Canyon. And so you're saying that one of the things that you teach women is that they have to begin to develop this sense of confidence. So are you saying that confidence is an essential component for a woman to be an entrepreneur?
Yes, absolutely. Cannot do it without it. Very, very important. And even if you are in the corporate world, like confidence will give you the power to negotiate with your boss and say, give me my goals, but I don't have to be in a place 8 hours to meet my goals. People are working from home now, right?
Yeah.
And even it is even in the 21st century, and I think with some of the women that I coach, that they are working from home and the boss is checking to see how long they are in their computer. See, I won't work for somebody like that. That's disrespect and insulting to you as a professional woman. If you give me my goals and I have to meet those goals because I'm a professional woman, if I don't meet them, fire me. But to have somebody, like checking on you, hello, we're in the 21st century.
I think that what you bring up is an important aspect that a lot of us haven't learned, or haven't learned yet. And that is exactly kind of, what you're saying, which is if it takes me 8 hours to achieve the, the agenda, it doesn't matter if it takes me 1 hour,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
I have 8 hours to complete it and I finish it in 1 hour, and that's where some people have a hard concept of saying, yeah, well, you did it in one, that means you should fill it with seven other things. Not
Yes,
necessarily. See, that's where
exactly.
working for yourself makes a difference, because if I can achieve that in an hour, I don't have to, start
Yes,
around for 7 more hours.
exactly. And that's exactly what they do. So it's really counterproductive
It
because if you achieve
can be.
it, yeah, it can be you achieve it in 1 hour, but then they're going to give you seven more things to do that are not part of your job. And women say yes, because that's how we are. And then you end up in the situations that we end up at work.
So talk
So
a little bit about, for that woman that's listening and says, first I'd like you to answer this question for the listener. Give one or two solid reasons of why that woman that is wanting to make the transition from working, a typical 40 to 60-hour week, and transition to becoming her own boss, being her own CEO. What is the one or two things that she would get from being coached by you?
what she's gonna get by being coach is to understand, kind of do the gut questions and understand what is it that she wants to do, what is the best place for her to be when she combines both the professional side of it and the family side of it, and envision a journey that would take her there, and define SMART goals that she can do every 90 days to get there and cross that bridge that is so difficult.
And most people don't know what their SMART goals are, right? And I know that's an acronym,
Yeah.
SMART. So what you help people to do is really nail that down. And here's the thing, I've got to say to the listener, this is true. we all could do it. The truth is most of us won't do it. Just like, being at your retreat this last weekend, boy, you asked some questions that it was like, I don't know, but I had to spend the time thinking about it. And I would say to any woman whose mind is tired, I think the more tired we are, the more rushed we are, the harder it is for us to do this work. Number
Yes.
one, the same mind that helped create a problem is not the same mind that will help you get out of the problem, right? We need somebody to open up our narrow
Yes.
vision and, create periphery, number one. And I just want to say I experienced that again this weekend. And, one of the questions you asked is you made us come up with, you asked one question, but it had to have three answers. And I was like, wow. And it was one of the best experiences that I've had because with my tired mind, just from physically being tired, and because I'm in transition too. I'm transitioning myself from my coaching style to another coaching style, and it was helpful. So I want to thank you that as a career coach, you are constantly mentoring me, even in the times you don't know it. So yes, SMART goals is one thing that people think is easy to do, but the truth is, even if it was easy and it's not, we often don't do it.
Yes.
And so having a coach will help you to get that done.
Exactly. That's what is important, to have a coach in those transition moments. Once you get through the transition, then you can go on your own. But those are hard times.
It's really challenging. And this is like even the work that I do with the coach. Do women have to work with me? The women that have? No. But can I get somewhere there a lot faster? Yes, of course. And that's the same with you. Could a woman make her way into the entrepreneurial world without you? Yeah. But she's going to spend a lot more time, a lot more money, and find a lot more detours than if she had a coach. And, we all understand that. We just all understand that, right? We all need a map. We all need a guide.
Yes.
I'd love to ask you for that, somebody that's new and never heard you today says, I really would like to learn more about Marilyn. What is the best way for them to contact you and see if they are ready to begin coaching with you?
Yes, it's h2t.sabianet.com. And of course, on Instagram or Facebook is Marilyn Ehrhardt. You can DM me or, any way is good for me.
Yeah. So it's interesting, H2T stands for here to there. That's what, career coach Marilyn does. She takes a person from here to there. And I find it interesting about your email address because it's Sabianet. You came up with that yourself?
Yeah. Well, Sabianet is the name of my company that I established in 2000. So that's, my corporation.
Okay.
And Sabia in English means wisdom.
Okay, awesome. So wisdom.net, but it's sabia.net. That's wonderful. And for those that, I want to ask the listener, if you would share this, with another woman and even another man, because, a lot of our men have wives that are struggling with things that we don't know anything about. We have a woman like Marilyn who's filled with wisdom, the love for God, the love for people, who has the experience to help women get from here to there. And I'm just going to ask you that you would be kind enough to share this interview today with another woman. And for those of you that are new to me and you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Life Coaching with Laura. Or you can check out my webpage at, what is it now? lifecoachingwithlaura.org. And I'm also doing a weekly podcast called Encouragement Now. And I'm doing that with therapist Kevin Phillips, biblical counselor Joseph Ferrara, and myself. And we talk about everything spiritual, emotional, and relational through the lens of Scripture. So I invite you to, download the app, Encouragement Now, and listen in each week. And I really believe that you're going to be positively impacted and encouraged through every one of those podcasts. So, Marilyn, I always like to give you the last word. I'd love for you to leave a message for the listener, a word of encouragement or prayer, whatever it is you have for them today.
Sure. I think when God's purpose is ignored, we always lose confidence, because confidence is one of God's perfect gift for us. But where purpose is unknown, confidence is not known either.
Mm.
And we have to be very careful to reflect on that. So I would bring us back to Proverbs 19:21. Many are the plans in man's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. A person may have many ideas concerning to God's plan for her life, but only the design of his purpose will succeed at the end.
I love that. No matter how we roll the dice, the Lord determines how they land. I love that. Thank you, Marilyn.
Yes.
As always, I'm walking away refreshed, inspired, and ready to grow my business even bigger.
Yes.
Peace
Well,
and love.
together we'll make it.
Amen.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye to the listener.
Bye.